Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Meredith Eaton of Eaton Press. Meredith, it's awesome to have you on the show.
It's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
No problem. Super excited to have you on. And before we jumped in, I want to read a little bit more about Meredith so you can hear about all the awesome things that she's doing. And Meredith is the CEO of Eaton Press, a self-publishing services company for nonfiction writers. Meredith has been in the publishing industry for nearly 10 years and has also spent much of the last 15 years as a corporate storytelling trainer. Prior to moving into publishing, Meredith worked for nearly a decade as a management consultant for small businesses and nonprofit organizations and brings that experience to help her clients produce books that will grow their businesses. Meredith, are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
I sure am.
Awesome. Let's do it. So to kick everything off, I want to rewind the clock a little bit, hear a little bit more about what I call your CEO story. We'll let you get started with your business.
All right, cool. So my CEO story, it's sort of two pieces. One is how I'm a CEO in general, and that is that I do not do great with authority. I don't really like people telling me what to do, but also I still like structure and I still like organization. But I just need to create it myself. It's really what I learned about myself. So that's why being a CEO of a company versus just if I really couldn't handle authority or structure, there's a lot of other things I could do, freelancing, travel blog or whatever, which wouldn't really fit. So that's kind of put me on the path to being a CEO. And how I ended up as the CEO of Eaton Press specifically is that it really is a culmination of my whole career in a really interesting way, in a way that I find fascinating, and hopefully other people do too. But so I started out at working in nonprofit. Right out of college, I got a job in nonprofit doing sort of administrative, executive assistant type work. And it was great, except for the parts that weren't, which is, having bosses and having everything be a team. And in the nonprofit, stuff is its own whole thing of ethos and culture and everything. So I went back to school, got my master's in organizational management, which I loved. I loved learning about the structure of companies and how people work together. And that's really where I started to realize I really needed to be in charge and not working for other people. So I started my first company. I was about 27, I think. And I was a management consultant for nonprofits specifically. So loved a lot of things about it, had a lot of successes, had a lot of failures. Ultimately, the failures won out, as they often do. And I found myself sort of really burnt, really just tired of being in charge, of being in control. So I took an office desk job. I just wanted to sit. And for the first time in my life, I wanted someone else to tell me what to do all day. I didn't want to think anymore. Because that's the other part of being a CEO. You're responsible for people. So it had gotten to be too much for me. So did that job for a couple of years and then sort of stumbled into this role of self-publishing. My dad was easing into retirement. He'd been running his own company for about 35 years as a sales trainer. He wanted to kind of do a book that would help that transition into retirement. So I was helping him with it. Then my uncle, so I'm writing a book. Can you help me do mine? I was like, okay, yeah. And so I was like, this is neat. This is a thing. And I'm learning and I like that. And, it's creative. And behind the scenes at all of this, during all of this, I had been also working not working, but performing as a storyteller, doing true stories in the Washington, D.C. area with a group called Story District. At the time, it was Speakeasy DC, in case anyone remembers in the audience from that. But so I love that. I love the performing. I love the creative. So I thought, publishing, this will be great. So I decided to start a company. I was tired of working for someone else. Started setting up a company. I went into fiction because that's what I read. That's what I liked. It turns out I don't like working in fiction. It is so much art and so much emotion and so little structure. So then I figured out, okay, I'll do nonfiction. I'll work with business owners. Then not only is it structured and stuff, but I can put my own experience to work as a business owner, as organizational management, all that kind of stuff. So that's what keeps me grounded all the time, is remembering, I built this, everything I did brought me here. And that helps me guide the company as well. So.
Nice. I absolutely love that. I'm glad you said that because everything you did brought you here. Because that's what I was actually thinking is sometimes we look at even sometimes the launch date of a business and we kind of negate or forget about the aspect of all the experience that it takes to get there. And a lot of times, especially in business, when you're kind of sometimes wearing multiple hats or at least in charge of multiple hats, you often have to kind of lean on different experiences and expertises to be able to be successful.
Exactly. And I had a moment when I thinking about starting my first publishing company where I thought, should I even be doing this? Because my other company failed, it imploded. I made a lot of mistakes and, so I went and then I kind of realized, but I learned so much stuff, right? This is my do-over. This is my chance. And then I stopped being afraid of the failures. I stopped hiding from the failures. I stopped pretending they didn't happen, which is, I think, a lot of people's first instinct is, no, it's fine. I chose to shut down the company. It wasn't that everything just like completely exploded and left me no choice. And that's really where I came to a place of strength is once I was like, yeah, man, mistakes happen and it's okay. And then we just move forward from them and get better. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially in business, it's really, I think, hard to be in business for probably sometimes it feels like 30 minutes to not have like a mistake or something pop up.
Oh, yeah.
But as you said, as you pointed to, the key is not in not having those mistakes or failures or whatever might happen. It's in learning from those and being able to build from those mistakes so that the next venture or the next thing or the next project or client or whatever that might be, whatever that next might be, is going to be so much better. So I absolutely love that. So I know you touched on it a little bit. Could you take us through how you serve your clients and what exactly that process looks like?
Absolutely. So we do a lot of custom work. I really believe everybody's journey is a little bit different. So I try not to have too much structure, that constant balance. But so we have our one core program is called the Executive Publishing Program, and that will take you through from the idea for your book all the way to having it on sale in 6 months. It's aggressive. You have to really be committed. You have to be focused. But if you are, then I am, and I'm going to bring you all the way through. And it includes writing, consulting, coaching, editing, and then all the production stuff that goes into making the book a book, like physically. So that's our kind of signature program. I also run a mastermind a couple of times a year that is a publishing and publicity mastermind, because that's the other piece, right? We can write the book. We have to get the book in the world. We have to make it do the things we want it to do to grow our business. And that's where a lot of people struggle. So the trick is really you have to know what you're going to do for the marketing, and you have to have a plan before you even start writing. That's what's going to position you the best way possible. So I've teamed up with a PR expert, and we put together this mastermind. It's 12 weeks, and it really gets you ready to start writing, but it makes sure that you're going to write the right book to achieve your goals. For your business. So, and then on October 1st, I'm launching a new program, which is a writing boot camp, because I found that a lot of my clients have the best of intentions, but they can't finish the book. They just can't stay on it. They get distracted. They need a lot of hand-holding and a lot of accountability, but not necessarily a lot of coaching. So it's more about the accountability. So I'm putting together this group program that will be more about just getting it done, like a boot camp, like a fitness boot camp, where you're going to kind of be yelled at a little bit, and you're going to have incentives, and we're going to have goals, and it's on you to do it, to actually put in the work. But I'm going to give you every tool I can to help you, get through it and do the work. So, and then outside of that, everything I consider to be a custom package. So we can do everything from just helping with the writing. I help some of my clients put together proposals to give to publishers if they don't want to do self-publishing. And then just the regular services. You've got the book, but you need it formatted and laid out and put on Amazon, all that kind of stuff. So we can do all of that as well.
Nice. I absolutely love that, kind of like a full service for anything. And I love how you have each of those custom packages that really, depending on the person, where exactly they're at, where exactly they feel like they need the help with, they kind of have those different options. And I love how you said, and I say this a lot, when I do marketing, is that a lot of times before you jump in and do any marketing, as you said, before you write the book, you actually should know why you're even creating the book. And so many people just, there's always a place for just getting out the pen and pad, so to speak, and just writing. But again, you want to know where you're going before you take all those steps in business and obviously in writing books as well, too.
Exactly. And we came up with the mastermind because the PR person I work with, Katie Reese, she decided that she noticed a lot of her clients had books, but they had already written the book. It was already published. And they had no, and now they're like, well, why aren't I getting media attention? And she was like, you did not write the right book for this. Or you do have the right book, but you're too late to the game. Like this should have been done 6 months ago or 8 months ago. So we were like, if we can catch people before they even start writing, then we're going to fix so many of those problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you can kind of get into the minds of what people are trying to accomplish and be able to be at the right place at the right time. So I absolutely love that. And so I wanted to ask you now for what I call your secret sauce. And this could be for yourself or your business or a combination of both. But what do you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique?
Well, I think in terms of the publishing aspect and what sets me apart from other publishers and self-publishers is that I do view it as a partnership. I become really invested in your success. So I do whatever it takes to get you to that final place. So we have, with the executive publishing program that I talked about, 6 months, there's a kind of a prescribed process that we move through that works for most of my clients, but not every one of my clients. So I'll add in extra things. We'll do co-writing if that's what it takes. If you're just having a hard time, sticking to your writing blocks, I'll create worksheets if I feel like, you need like extra structure to figure out certain pieces. Whatever that is, I want it to get done. I want you to have a good book at the end. And I think also just my willingness to constantly learn and adapt and grow and change services and be willing to respond, not just to my clients and not just in publishing, but business in general, to look for what is new and to be very conscious. And I don't fall into this trap, but I'm very, very conscious to not ever say, no, I've done that. I've tried that. I know that. I don't use that. That doesn't work for me. So many people say stuff like that about anything. And it's just sort of like the second I feel myself say that or hear myself say that, I'm like, no, time out, back up. Let's try that. Let's actually go there. If we have such a reaction, let's do it. Let's try it. So.
Yeah, that's extremely powerful. And I think so many times because I feel like, as business owners and entrepreneurs, we often have, I don't know if I want to say bravado or confidence in what we're building, but I think that in my eyes, to truly be successful, you kind of have to have some of that, that ability to step back and say, question yourself even and question, some of the things that you're thinking, some of the things that are coming up. And I think that's extremely powerful. And I can definitely see how that has manifested itself in the client relationships and the ability that in the process you have working with clients to be able to say, okay, well, can we do this? Can I take my program and maybe customize or tweak this here and there so that we get what is actually needed at the end of the day?
Exactly. And sometimes I think certain clients or members of my masterminds get a little frustrated because I'm very rarely will I give a definitive, absolutely not, that will not work. No, because it's almost never true, right? There's a once in a while where I'll be able to be like that. But usually it's like, well, you could do that if you did these 7 other things, which most people don't do. So I don't recommend it. However, I can't say never because you could be the one who actually pulls that crazy thing off or whatever it is. So it can be hard, but I really can't anchor in. And so now I just lean into that. That's just who I am. That's part of it. And I explain why I can't give you a hard yes or no, but we can't rule out the possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's in my view in line with a kind of like the abundant mindset, because when you can see that anything is possible, things can come to fruition. You never use the words never or no, or that's not possible, because there's always the possibility that can definitely happen.
Exactly. I never say never. I say unlikely.
Yes.
I'll say in my experience, I haven't seen it, but
Exactly.
don't prove me wrong.
Exactly. There you go. Challenge is on. So absolutely love that. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit and I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
So I'm obsessed with systems and technologies and stuff like that. So I'm constantly looking. So that is a little one. It's not my main one, but is to never accept that your systems you have in place are the final systems, right? So I try every 6 months, sometimes a year, to just revisit all my things. How am I, what's my database? What's my payment processing? What's my whatever? And make sure they're all as efficient, as cost effective, as useful as they need to be and make those decisions. But at a much more micro level, my newest discovery and my newest obsession is Rocketbooks. Mm-hmm. So some people are already on this, but I'm kind of new to it. I love it. I love it. I'm a notebook person. I constantly write dumb, quick notes to myself on that I need. I need that note for like 20 minutes from now, but I don't need it a week from now. Mm-hmm. But I have all these notebooks that have important things mixed in with not important things, and it's a mess, and it's a cluttery thing. So the Rocketbook, for people who don't know, you write out with a regular, a special pen, but like a normal pen, and then you can scan the pages directly into. You can scan over email. So I'll do these crazy things. I'll have an idea and I'll sketch it out, and I just scan it right to my virtual assistant, and I'm like, can you figure this out and do what is on here? And I kind of love this more, you just erase it. You just have this little cloth, there's water, and you just erase it. It's so freeing. It's so freeing. Like, sometimes I feel like if someone were to come into my office, they would think I was like a serial killer, because of the way I have these like crazy notes and stuff like everywhere. But now I just have this one little notebook, and I just wipe it away. And if I make a mistake, like outer order, inner calm, right, is a thing. So like I'm trying to flip through my notebook, and all I see is scribbles and crossed out and draw over here to fix that. And I just wipe it, and it's so clean, and it's so orderly, and it's fantastic. And so my new ritual is every Monday morning, first thing I do, I go through the whole book. I scan what needs scanning. I erase what can be erased. It's wonderful. So it's like Zen. I like to start my week. So.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And it's so funny because I love to write as well, too. And I think being able to use tools like that and be able to do it digitally and still kind of have that writing experience with it, there's phenomenal kind of things. But I love the fact, too, that you take that time on a regular basis to really look at all the systems and things that you have in place. Because I think so many times, especially with all these technologies, they can evolve in 3 to 6 months so much more. So sometimes if we don't check in on a regular basis, for one, it may or may not do what it used to do. For two, there might be something else that has evolved and can do so much more. So continually to kind of check in, just like you would your car, is something that's is a great hack.
Thank you. Yeah, I find it fun. Like, which I'm a nerd. I'm such a nerd. But like, I was joking with someone the other day. But I was like, literally Friday night, I had this plan for researching. I don't remember, some category of software. And I was like, oh yeah, so good. Popcorn, I'm in it. So.
If that's what makes you a nerd, then I too am a nerd as well. So I can get with you on that. So now I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO nugget. So that could be a word of wisdom or piece of advice. It might be something you would tell a client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you would tell your younger business self.
I'm going to do the time machine younger business self, because this is one of my other passions, is just sort of connecting with other CEOs and people early on their journeys. But I kind of already mentioned this, but it is that mistakes are not just okay, they are powerful, that's where we learn. And so the thing I learned almost too late, not really, but like that took me probably 15 years of working in 2 companies to figure out, was go as fast as you can towards that first mistake, accept it's happening, and just get there. And then fix it and move on. So for like when we wanted to launch our mastermind, we were going around and around, because I kind of had an idea for it. I didn't 100% see it together. And so I kept putting it out. I kept being like, well, let's like get the whole curriculum done. And my partner luckily was like, no, we're just going to schedule it. We're going to do it. And then we're going to fix it. We know enough that we know it'll be worth the people's time. And we're just going to do it. And I'm so glad, because there's only so much you can tinker in your brain. You can plan. And also, you can sometimes get stuff right the first time. And that is almost worse, because I had that when I first designed my executive publishing program. I had this one version of it, and it worked great. I had no issues with 2-3 clients in a row. And I was like, oh, that's done. Put that over there, moving on. And then I had 3 clients exactly at the same time just go completely off the rails, just catastrophic, like not working for anybody. I'm losing money. Like it was awful. And I was like, oh, if this had happened on the second client, this would not be as catastrophic, because I had just put full speed ahead on all these other things. So when all this fell apart, it just was a mess. And I was just like, I got fooled into thinking so I always try to say, like, just do it, get out there, schedule it, just get in there and expect there has to be a second version. There's got to be a second time, which I've kind of become obsessed with second times. That's like the savior. And so if there's anything that's only a one-off. My wedding, I was like, can I just do this again? Because like, I mean, it was like great, like 90, but there's like a couple things like, no, I would just nail some of those logistics a second time, like same guy, but like we could just do the event. But that's coming from this embracing of like, you don't know what you don't know till you're in it. And there is absolutely no shortcut to that. Just got to do it and embrace it.
Yeah, I love that nugget. And it's kind of some couple quotes were coming to my mind, but I think Mark Zuckerberg has a quote that's like move fast and break things. And almost mean you want to find, as you said, that mistake, because not that mistake or that problem or whatever doesn't go right is something bad. It gives you that opportunity to kind of pivot or change or improve upon whatever it is that you're doing. So the more you're doing that, the more you're building something that's greater, because at the heart of what we're trying to do is solve problems. Right. And if you don't find those problems, then you kind of are in this, I guess, I don't know zone, and you want to be able to get to that point where you get that market feedback so you know if something's going to work or if it doesn't work.
Exactly. And you also run a very high risk of analysis paralysis. If you constantly trying to get it right before you do it, you'll spend your whole life thinking, planning, and never actually do it. And you still won't get it right. You know what I mean? Like, I promise you, you can do everything you can and think about it in every which way. And then when you finally do it, there will be things have to change. So just get there faster. Don't waste all that time with the thinking and the planning.
Exactly. Don't get in the ready, aim, and never take any fire or action at all. So you got to make sure that you do that. So now I want to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So Meredith, what does being a CEO mean to you?
To me, being a CEO it means two things. It means freedom and obligation at the same time. So I have all the freedom in the world to decide anything I want. I can work 5 hours a week. I can work 50 hours a week. But I also have an obligation to my clients. I have an obligation to my household to bring in income. I have an obligation to other business owners to be a successful business and to show a model of a CEO that is productive and working. So for me, it's that balance back and forth. And for me in particular, because I tend to like structure until I don't like structure. So always keeping that in mind. And then as I grow, I have clients, I have a VA, I have subcontractors, and I have an obligation to them to stay in business and to grow because they depend on me for their income. So it's that combination of being free to grow and evolve, but also remembering what is anchoring me, which is the connection and the obligations I have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like that reminder, kind of like what we were saying, before about how the systems will set you free a lot of times. And by having those things that anchor you or required of you, or why, or people that are even dependent on you to do what you need to do, it allows you to be focused on that, take care of what needs to be done there, but you still have that freedom to be able to create, innovate, improve things, because you know that you need to do that in order to be ultimately successful and continue to be successful.
Exactly. And I think that's that combination. With my first company, I had too much freedom and not enough obligation. I wasn't aware enough of my obligations, and I went a little crazy with the power of like, I'm in charge, after so long of not being in charge. And that I can trace that to a lot of the mistakes that brought down the company ultimately. And so it's that back and forth, but too much obligation. It's not fun anymore. And like, why am I working this hard? Just to, I might as well just go get a job and write my paycheck and like not worry about it. So it's that balance for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad you said that, because I think so many times, and even myself, once you hear about being an entrepreneur, I think there's such a wrong narrative out there about what that is. And I think when you think of entrepreneurship, sometimes you think that your freedom, get to do anything anytime you want, when in reality, to some degree you do, but you have to have that structure, and usually you have to put that structure in place. So it's not that you're not having that structure, you just have to have it, or else things will fall off the rails, and you have to be consistent in order and have those systems in place in order to be kind of successful as a business.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. And not enough people, I think, understand, especially young, new, and I mean young age, but young entrepreneurs, entrepreneurship and business ownership. It can be overwhelming and it can be confusing. And again, you learn when you make the mistakes. So just back to that.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm glad you said, young is not necessarily an age thing as well, too, because young is kind of an experience thing. How many mistakes have you made? If you've made a lot of experience, you probably are a lot more tenured than somebody who's made none and maybe not had any entrepreneurial or business experience.
Exactly, yeah. So there's some other word probably to describe it of you know experience versus what your actual age is, but that's the
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. That definitely resonated with me. So, Meredith, truly appreciate that perspective and that definition. Appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to
Okay.
see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know, and of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things that you're working on.
Okay. So the last little thing I'll say, because I spent so much of my advice time on CEO, is for people who want to write a business book. It is very doable and is a powerful tool for sure. And the key, I think, to getting started is to remember that with nonfiction books, it's a snapshot in time. It's not your life's work. You're not writing a great American novel. You're not writing this massive tome that's going to revolutionize the world. You want to just, at this moment right now, what are your philosophies? What are your viewpoints? What's your experience telling you that you can share? Get it down, get it out, leverage it. It will explode your business, take it to the next level, and then write another book. The stuff in it's not accurate anymore. That's fine. We write another book. We update. We grow. And I think for a lot of people, it's hard to decide, like, this is the book. Like, how do I have to have the absolute best, theory and information. You don't. You have to have the best you have right now. And then, but the important thing again is just get it done, get it out. So we focus on that a lot in the groups that I work on. And so I run a Facebook group called Booking It to Success. And we just talk about all kinds of things related to writing, publishing, motivation, mindset, marketing, getting your book out, all that kind of stuff. So people aren't sure, they're kind of thinking about it, highly recommend, look that group up, join in. It's a very quiet group in the sense that there's not that constant selling to each other and the members. It really is just a group of people who want to learn about writing and publishing their own nonfiction books. So and then EatonPress.com is our website. We're also on Instagram and Facebook, both Eaton Press, to find us there, and that's really the best way to keep up with what we're doing. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. We will have the links and information in the show notes for social media, website, and the awesome Facebook group as well, too. And I truly appreciate that reminder as well, too. I think so many times we let the perfect get in the way of the possible. We want to write that great American novel, the best book that's ever been written before. But a lot of times we just have to get one page after one page done, and we start to progress. And then once we have success, we can do it all over again. So I appreciate that reminder as well.
yes.
And I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for having me on this. I've really enjoyed this.